Hey, what's up YouTube? This is the Mermail Master coming at you guys from the Team Time Riders Chiyuki Tube channel with the next installment of Learning Mermails. Today, in this video, we are going to be discussing one of the most important things that makes a Mermail deck run, and that is the engines. Now, as you guys know, Mermail decks are a combination between the plays of both Mermails and Atlanteans that help you to put a massive amount of damage on board and to continue to bear down on your opponent. However, what a lot of people don't realize, or, at least those who are trying to learn the deck, is that Mermail decks have utilized and still utilize a variety of different engines to make the plays work, whether going first or second, or whether, taking a lot of different things into account. Each of these engines can allow you a lot of different ways to, create pressure for your opponent. So, I'm going to be discussing several different engines today and going over what the benefits and drawbacks of each of these engines are. Whether you decide to build the deck for going first or for going second, you should take into account the strengths and weaknesses of these particular engines and how to play them best in the deck that you're trying to build. So, let's get started, guys. So, one of the first engines, and probably the most easiest to explain, is going to be the frog engine. Now, frogs are one of the most favorite parts of any first turn Mermail player's deck. What we have here are 3 copies of Swap Frog and 1 copy of Ronin Totem. Now, the number of frogs that you can play will vary a lot, and sometimes players will include maybe 1 more copy of Ronin Totem and 1 or 2 copies of Dupe Frog. But it all wholly depends on the space that you have in your deck and what you're using the cards for. Now, the main reason that you're going to be running the frogs is, of course, for your extra deck. And in your extra deck, you have 2 to 3 copies of the one and only Totally Awesome. Totally Awesome is one of the most fantastic frog cards in the game. It's one of the most fantastic cards released, period. The greatest thing about Totally Awesome is its ability to negate anything that your opponent would activate, and not only destroy that thing, but to also be able to reset it to your side of the field. And it's so much so that, Paleozoic frogs and various frog variants have appeared throughout time. But basically the frog engine's total thing is around getting Totally Awesome out the correct way. Totally Awesome, when it has XYZ material, not only gets that negation effect, but it'll also allow you to special summon a level 2 Aqua type monster from your deck. So you can grab another Swap Frog, which will, get more plays. Swap Frog, of course, is the best card in the deck, or the best frog card probably ever, as a way to, basically get a play. So if you have Swap Frog and Ronin Totem in your hand, that's 2 cards that can make you a Totally Awesome. When Swap Frog is normal or special summoned to the field, you can take 1 level 2 or lower Aqua type monster and send it from your deck to the graveyard. In addition, you can bounce Swap Frog back from your field to the hand, effectively protecting it and allowing you to use it next turn. In addition, Swap Frog allows you to also discard any water monster to special summon it. Be careful though, this is an inherent summon, so it will not work with Dragoons. Nice try though, and I really wish it did work. It would create a lot of synergy and be really, really helpful for us, but unfortunately that's not the case. Swap Frog and Ronin Totem is a 1-card Totally Awesome because Swap Frog, when it's special summoned by discarding Ronin Totem, you can mill a Swap Frog or any other frog that you play for the graveyard. Ronin Totem can then kick in, allowing you to banish Swap Frog and special summon Ronin Totem to the field. Now, Ronin Totem and Swap Frog are both level 2 Aqua type monsters, so you can overlay them together and special summon Totally Awesome. Now, the frog engine is really great at going first, but not necessarily at going second. It's a very easy engine to possibly stop, and your opponent, if they know exactly what to look for and how to stop this play, can create a lot of issues. In addition, a Swap Frog without an Aqua to discard is worse than, is not like the correct thing to normal summon, and you'll often find that certain frogs might not give you enough benefits from getting discarded off of a Megalo, for instance, that an Atlantean would give you. So that's another thing to keep in mind when you're considering whether or not you want to have this engine in here. It can be very, very great for summoning totally awesomes, but it doesn't quite synergize as much as the next engine that we're going to talk about. So, you know, this is definitely up to personal preference, whether or not you like the frogs. I know a lot of players who do run them and who swear by them, but it is, at the end, up to you. So now, the next engine that we're going to discuss is one that's largely been sort of ignored very recently, but did have a lot of popularity for a long, long time. And that is the GenX engine. 2 copies of GenX Undine and 1 copy of GenX Controller. Now, GenX Undine, when it first released back in, I believe it was Shining Darkness, had very little reason to play it. You send a water from your hand to your deck, search a GenX Controller from your hand. When Mermails were released, that all changed. And before Neptibus, Undine was your go-to card. When you summon Undine to the field, it takes up your normal summon, but in addition for searching out GenX Controller, it had the ability to send any water monster from your deck to the graveyard. You send a Dragoons, you send a Marksman, you send a Heavy Infantry, pop a thing on your opponent's field, search another Mermail card, and then grab your controller from your deck to your hand. Controller does have the ability to brick like as easily as, for instance, Garnet does, but you know, even people found ways to use Controller as a de facto tuner in the deck when Diva went to 1, and a lot of people weren't really playing that. So not only do you get benefits from activating Undine's effect, but you now also have Controller in your hand. People were even running things like Allure of Darkness at like 2 or 3, get a controller to your hand, ditch the controller that you're not going to use anyway away, and then draw 2 new cards that you can then use to combo off even further. I know some people have started playing around with Brilliant Fusion Undine builds, and these basically allow Mermails a little bit more access to certain plays, and it's really like quite a nice way to continue to build upon the Mermail strategy. If you have multiple normal summons, you're able to get a controller out. You can use GenX Undine in a way. You can make Omega and just put a lot more damage on board in a lot more different ways. So it has the options to brick more, but when it's on, it really is on. So GenX Undine was largely, you know, pushed away. It's a great first and sometimes even second turn kind of play, but it's largely outclassed by Neptibus. If you're running a Brilliant Fusion engine, yes, consider it, but if you're not, you can play around with it and see how you like it in comparison to Neptibus. Its levels are also pretty good, so you can play around with it and see, but ultimately make your decision on it. But don't hold your breath at GenX Undine currently, but it's only because it really is, you know, sort of a changed card. So that is the GenX engine. The next engine that we're going to talk about is an engine that you should run if you are going second, and that engine is the Kaijus. The most potent Kaijus in all Mermail decks probably is Gameciel. Gameciel is, without a doubt, the best Kaiju. And the reason it's the best Kaiju is because it has the lowest attack power. But in Mermails, kind of like Norda did, it gives it a little bit more advantage for it being a water monster. So you can discard this for a Megalo play if you have no way to use it. You can special summon one to your opponent's side of the field and special summon one of these guys to your side of the field. You know, overlay this with a Mooling Glacier or boost up a Megalo to level 8 with Mander and overlay into, you know, some kind of card that you can use. There's a lot of different ways to use Gameciels, and they're great at removing opposing threats like Dridents and things like that that your Mermails just really don't have the protection or the ability to deal with. The other Kaijus that you can run if you're really serious are 1 copy of Radiant and 1 copy of Humongous. And these guys are fantastic ways to get. And the reason you run these is because of their level. They're level 7. And if you get one of these guys out and then you can just special summon a Megalo or a Teus after that, you've got a rank 7 on board. Your opponent's got a Gameciel effectively removing their monster, and the best idea is that if you activate a Kaiju Slumber, pop their entire field, special a Gamma Seal to their side, special summon one of these guys to your side, they have 24 and 2800 attack respectively. They can beat over the Gamma Seal with the lack of any other cards, or help you to pull in like a Red Eyes or a Draco Sack or a Big Eye, steal back the Gamma Seal, and put even more damage to your opponent on board. So the Kaijus, of course, are really great, not only for those reasons. You guys already know that they can be helpful for the tribute summons and whatnot, but there's a lot more ways to use them in Mermails than you might think. Now, moving on to this fourth engine. This is not really an engine just so much as it is like tech cards for the deck, but with the banning of Norden, at least I've had to up the numbers of this up. And that engine, of course, is 2 copies of Aqua Spirit and 2 copies of Silent Angler. Now, these guys are pretty much, you'd say, the backbone of your rank 4 strategy. Both of these cards, they do have a little bit of drawback, but each one of them has the capability to be very, very helpful in the right situation. Aqua Spirit was the original one of these cards and came out like during the title era as well. By banishing 1 water monster from your graveyard, you can special summon it to the field. And Aqua Spirit comes to the field as a level 4. It's just a normal special summon. No more drawbacks besides that. But you have to banish the water monster from your graveyard. So this is really great for modulating your graveyard from Mooling Glacier, but to also getting like an extra level 4 on for a Bahamut Shark or for a Trishula or for anything that you need an extra summon for. Likewise, Silent Angler is the same thing, except they made it with Mermail decks in mind, which means that when you special summon Silent Angler, you cannot special summon monsters from your hand for the rest of the turn. Let me just tell you, that kind of does hurt. So, if you're running Silent Angler should be the last thing that comes out before your battle phase or before you make all your XYZs. Otherwise, it will be a little bit of trouble for you. But it nonetheless is a very potent card, and both of these combo pieces are really good. Aqua Spirit does actually also have a second effect that I really, really enjoy, and that's its effect that once per turn at the beginning of any of your opponent's turn, during their standby phase, if they have a monster on the field in attack position or any monster, you can switch that monster's battle position and it cannot be switched for the rest of their turn. And you would not believe how often that effect has saved me. In several regionals, like I've used that effect 3, 4, sometimes even 5 times in a specific regional. Switch a monster your opponent controls to defense position, they can't switch that monster back. If they don't have a monster in their hand that can beat over Aqua Spirit, your Aqua Spirit effectively survives the turn, and you have any other normal summon or any other play you can put out there with your Mermails, and that's it. Your opponent really has no comeback. So Aqua Spirit and Silent Angler are both very, very good options. And depending on your taste and depending on how you think, specifically because Instant Fusion is now gone, I would recommend considering both of these cards at 2, at least for now, while you test out to see how we can continue to put Bahamut and Totally Awesome on board and how things might change with the next cards that we have. So, for the next cards, they're all kind of small engines in and of themselves, but we're going to discuss them. Of course, you got Max C, which is self-explanatory, but the real cards that we're going to discuss here are Diva, Mooling Glacier, and the brand new Fishborg launcher. Diva, of course, is pretty self-explanatory. Started being running in Mermail decks as soon as Trishula came out. You do this into a marksman, attack, summon Dragoons, main phase 2, special summon Trishula. But now, like Diva is a card that just cannot come back to more than 1 because of just how good this card is. It can fetch Neptibus. It can fetch, pretty much any Atlantean besides Dragoons. And you can use it to make Tatsunoko. You can use it to make you tribute something for a Megalo, make a Coral Dragon or a Bryanak after that. Very, very good card. The fact that it's a tuner and can grab its non-tuner from the deck, that's amazing. People are calling Harmonizing Magician broken, but Diva was the original Harmonizing Magician. It's even got that musical theme as well. But this is an engine that, you know, a Mermail player would be amiss without running. And granted, there are ways to stop it. It can be chaliced, it can be ogred, it can be veilered, but it pushes for plays. And that's the most important thing that Diva really brings to the deck. The next, of course, is Moulin Glacier, which, you know, comes in and out at the time. I've been playing Mermails for a long time, and I've seen Moulin Glacier get taken in and out of the deck. You know, during Shaddoll and Burning Abyss format, of course, nobody wanted to run this, but when you run this in combination with things like Lead and Omega, you can rip cards out of, you can rip up to 3 to 4 cards out of your opponent's hand in a single turn. And I can showcase you guys some more of the combos. The combos that I showed you in part one of this video series were, you know, largely very, you know, simple Mermail combos, but there's a lot more advanced combos that you can really take advantage of, and that Moulin Glacier plays a big part into. It's one of the reasons why Mermails are so good. They can create big boards that can't be negated. At the same time, they can also break massive boards that your opponent has. And lastly, you know, they have the ability to, like, if they want, rip a bunch of cards out of your opponent's hand. It takes a lot of effort to create those combo pieces, but when you pull it off, you know, you've pretty much got a win right then and there. The last monster that I want to discuss, and let me bring it close so that you guys can take a look at that effect, is 1 copy of Fishborg Launcher. And I'm testing this out right now because we're running White Aura Whale. And this guy is kind of like a watered down version of Fishborg Blaster, which is one of the most broken cards in the entire game, and was a function of that Oystermeister OTK that got a whole bunch of things back in Duelist Genesis format banned. But this guy here says that if you have monsters other than water, you can special summon this card from the graveyard, and if you do, banish it when it leaves the field. But it cannot be used as a synchro material monster for anything other than water. The idea for Fishborg Launcher is to be able to combo this off with Mermail Abyssteus, discard it to the graveyard to search whatever you want, and if you have other water monsters in your graveyard, special summon Fishborg Launcher right back out, and make White Aura Whale. And White Aura Whale will destroy all attack position monsters your opponent controls, and at the same time prevent them from, you know, doing anything with them. So while it doesn't require the discard of Fishborg Blaster, it's still a really, really great way to recur itself and to be able to get you that White Aura Whale. It's a very broken card that I'm looking forward to testing in the deck, but it's kind of like a 1-card engine that is largely taking the place of, I guess, Fishborg Juggler, or whatever that card is. Fishborg Archer, I think, is what it was. The discard and special summon level 3 tuner. But it can be very, very good if you allow it to be. And I think, you know, that's something that's kind of important that we should consider. But yeah, so that was pretty much an overview of a lot of, like, the different engines in the deck. In the next segment of this video, we'll be going over more of the meat of the Mermail deck and really get you knowledge and personal experience with a lot of the cards that make the deck tick. But for now, you know, I hope you guys learned a lot from this video, learned a lot about the different engines that are run, and learned a lot about how to utilize and what you might want to run, either going first or going second. If you guys enjoyed this video, please remember to rate, comment, and subscribe on the Team Time Riders YouTube channel, and I'll catch you guys next time. This has been the Mermail Master, and I'm signing out. Peace.